Please be seated. Happy New Year to you all. So good to be in church together to start a new year, celebrating the goodness of God to us in so many varied and wonderful ways. Now, quick lesson in church calendar kind of metrics. There are 12 days to Christmas, as the wonderful song says. That takes you from the 25th of December to the 6th of January. So if your tree is still up, you're doing well. Congratulations. Keep it up till the 6th, then take it down. Don't take it down earlier than that, and that's the way we do things. The 6th of January is what we call Epiphany. It's a day we celebrate the coming of the wise men to pay their homage to the baby Jesus. It's a day where God reveals himself to us. Epiphany is a word that's shifted a lot over time. Today, epiphany means a moment of uncanny insight we have within ourselves. We long for those. A depth of insight into something new or an understanding of ourselves through which we can move ahead and do things well. We want epiphanies this time of year about who we were last year and who we long to be this year and into the future. But that use of epiphany has developed in and through time. The ancient use of the word epiphany was very different. The ancient Greek philosophers used the word epiphany not to describe a light within, but a light that broke from without. A revelation of another realm, of the glory that lies behind things. Epiphany was about something being revealed that was totally other, that didn't belong to the sphere of humanity at all. In the age of AI, we get increasingly used to information that is just information repackaged, right? AI can't produce genuine insight of things that are other, beyond what it already knows. But epiphany is the exact opposite. About radical new knowledge. In our text today is the word epiphany. It's obviously not there in the English, but the word revealed is the ancient Greek word the philosophers used for that breaking in of something wonderfully new. In this simple and ordinary wedding in Cana in Galilee, there is a remarkable epiphany. And I think it will aid us as we start our year if we look upon it. Let me tell you 3 things about this wedding and its epiphany for us. The first is this: Jesus brings abundant joy. Jesus has come to bring abundant joy. The setting is simple. It's an ancient wedding. In such a setting, everyone's invited. Anyone from the village can be there. Jesus' mother is there. Jesus is there. Jesus' disciples are there. If you're in the village, you're part of the party. That's just the way it worked, okay? Everyone is there. But there's a crisis at this wedding. As Jesus' mother says to him, they have no more wine. This is a funny interaction. You might think, well, maybe Mary knows about Jesus, knows he's special. But it's more likely that this is just, a mother talking to her oldest son. Oldest sons are supposed to fix things, get the job done. Jesus, go fix something with this. They have no more wine. Ancient weddings went for days. Running out of wine was a big faux pas. It meant the end of the celebration that should linger and last. You would lose a lot of cultural currency, perhaps even be shamed for not having enough wine. Jesus takes charge, commands some containers to be filled, and then they are turned into wine. As I was reading this again this week, I was reminded of one of my pastor friends in Bondi who was with his swim club. They were swimming together, and there was a newcomer there that day, and found out my mate Blake was a pastor and said, "Oh, have you heard that amazing story about Jesus? That story where he turned wine into water." And it's like, no, that's not right. No, I've read it in the Bible. Jesus, he gets this beautiful wine and goes back into water. It took a while, this back and forth for him to go, no, it's the other way round. Jesus turned water into wine, not wine into water. I've been thinking about that ever since I heard it from my mate, because imagine the difference to Jesus, right? The difference between the Jesus who walks into a party and says, okay guys, that's enough, and everyone's glasses magically turn into water. Hydration time, everyone, who walks into a party and turns it down and says, guys, that's enough, closing time, everyone out, Versus the Jesus who walks in and says, there's not enough wine here. We need more. Don't leave yet. Come on, linger till late. John, in his account, lingers over the amount of wine, 20 to 30 gallons, terrible American translating. That's 75 to maybe 110 litres. We're talking 100 bottles of wine. This isn't just a stingy kind of, let's get a little bit to get us through. It's abundant. You see, the Jesus who turns water into wine at a wedding to keep it going is a person of immense joy, isn't he? Who enjoys celebrations and feasting and weddings, who enjoys wine, who wants the party and the happiness and the joy to continue. That's Jesus. That's the Jesus of this gospel. That's the Jesus of the Gospels. That's Jesus. Come into the world to bring an abundance of joy. Is that your vision of Jesus? It's the vision of Jesus here. Often we might have a slightly more austere vision of Jesus, and one that's not quite as loose and happy as this. But perhaps the secret to the Christian life that we forget at times is that the most powerful spiritual force in the world is in fact joy. That discipleship need not be wrapping your knuckles with a ruler. It's more like walking into a party. What if walking with Jesus is not so much about bearing with him as enjoying him? The other amazing thing we see in this is that the vessels used to turn the water into wine, you can see it there, they're the ones used, the type used for ceremonial washing. You'd have water so that someone could wash their hands before they eat. Cleanliness, cleansing before a meal, very important in Jewish culture, obviously. Here, Jesus turns that water for cleansing into wine. You see, Jesus, if you want to enjoy him, if you want his joy, here's what he will do. He won't just clean your hands. He'll turn you into wine. He'll utterly remake you, transform you. To walk joyfully into the party with Jesus is to be willing to be utterly remade by him in his presence. Perhaps in this time of year, we're looking with some introspection about the person we want to be this year. Resolutions, etc. It's cliched these days. Perhaps it's a helpful part of your walk, though. May I suggest that what you need is not more of yourself and more discipline purely within yourself, but more of the joyful presence of Jesus. The joyful, transforming presence of Jesus. Because Jesus comes to bring abundant joy. But the second thing we see here is that Jesus comes to start God's banquet. Now, at the end of the passage we read, Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory. Now, the whole first part of John is about signs, about miracles Jesus does that demonstrate who he is, right? But a sign has to point to a reality, right? A sign to Byron Bay has the destination is Byron Bay. The destination is not the sign to Byron Bay. So, what is this a sign of? It's such a powerful sign that we read the disciples put their faith in him straight away. It's so powerful to them, they act on it. And I think what's happening in the background is that passage we read from Isaiah 25, very important passage, and also Joel 3, but maybe more so Isaiah 25, which reads this. It's on page 13 if you want to read along. On this mountain, the Lord Almighty will prepare a feast of rich food for all peoples, a banquet of aged wine, the best of meats and the finest of wines. What's figured here in the Old Testament prophecy is a coming day where on the mountain of God, all peoples will come and feast together. There will be a party. And at that party will be what? Amazing wine. Right? You might have noticed that John actually spends not very much time talking about Jesus and spends a lot of time talking about what he calls, what is it called again? The head of the master of the banquet. The head of the banquet. And we hear him kind of waxing lyrical about how good the wine is and how you've brought the best wine out last when you should have brought it out at the beginning when the people weren't so drunk. The reason why that figure is so important in the story is that is who Jesus is. Jesus is the master of God's banquet. He is the one providing the wine. He is the one laying the table. He will bring about, he will start, he will finish the banquet, the feasting of God, the celebration of God's people, and all those people forever. To drive home the point, I think you need to read the next verse in Isaiah. On this mountain he will destroy the shroud that enfolds all peoples, the sheet that covers all nations. He will swallow up death forever. In John's Gospel, the first sign is the wine, John 2. The last sign is John 11. What does he do in John 11? He raises Lazarus from the dead. Wine and death overthrown. All through John, Jesus is the one who brings about God's banquet, conquering death, able to bring about at the end of time a resurrection of the dead around the table again, feasting forever in God's house. Jesus is the head of God's banquet. And yet we see that this is in fact something we are still waiting for. Jesus says it, doesn't he? My hour has not yet come. Interesting. My hour to run the banquet has not yet come, he says to his mother. The finest wine is brought out last at the end, according to this master of the banquet, as he discerns what's happening. We are still waiting for that day when Jesus will open his banquet with the dead raised, and the feasting and the wine and the aged meat will last forever. It's important for us to understand that we are still waiting, that we don't over-expect from the here and now what we can only have then. That life is good at times, yes, but also harsh and brutal. The best things are still yet to come. The banquet has not yet started. But we know who will start it. In the abundance of joy he brings. In its own little way, here's a strange little resolution you can make in light of that. What if the table you feast at with others, or the restaurants you go to with others, what if you thought of that table as a preview of Jesus' table? That every time you sat down with people who are friends or strangers, you're inviting them to taste what God is about to do. That when you drink fine wine with others, you're helping them understand the promise of God in Jesus, of a joyful celebration and feast that is yet to come. How might you use your table as a sign as Jesus did at this wedding, of the promises and hope of God yet to come. Friend, if you're not sure whether you're invited to that banquet, can I say you are? But you have to come to him and say yes. Because thirdly and finally, I want to say that our joy, where we find joy as creatures, ultimately, it's not in wine or in feasting. To find joy as a human creature is to know and enjoy the glory of God in Christ. That's what John ends with saying. This was the first of the signs through which Jesus revealed his glory, his essence. This is the epiphany, that in the wedding in Cana, Jesus reveals his eternal light and purpose and power and strength. That he is the eternal creator that can turn water into wine. That he is the mighty one who can even conquer death itself. That he is a glory unlike glory ever seen or known. The question is, as John's gospel starts, is what will we do with that? I don't know whether you stayed up to watch the fireworks on New Year's Eve. We had a few friends at our place. We had these friends who came up from Canberra, that great place of our city, of our country, and they'd come up especially to see us, and their kids were there, and we watched the 9 p.m. fireworks with their kids, and we put our kids in bed, and they said, I think we'll go to bed. Gus and I were like, sure. We went to bed, and we looked at each other like, what's wrong with them? What is wrong? They came all the way up from Canberra. And the midnight fireworks in Sydney, world-renowned all over the world, are about to happen, and they are sleeping. Contrast that with another set of friends who'd come up, who'd last year spent their time watching the Gosford fireworks, which, needless to say, was something they did not want to repeat this year. And so they were there, and they're like, we are here until the bitter end. We want to see all of the glory, all of the joy, all of the fun, every last bit of it. I love that. You see, the question that Epiphany raises for us, the question that John 2 raises for us at the end, is this. Jesus will reveal his glory to you if you stay awake to see it. You have a decision as you read John's Gospel. Will you go, that's enough, yeah, that's fine. Close your eyes and sleep. Or you stay up like someone watching the glory of the fireworks, savoring, enjoying every little sparkle, glimmer, and joy. You see, the secret to knowing Jesus is simply to be awake, to read, and to finally enjoy what you see, to savor it like a fine wine. To realize that you can't have the epiphany within you. You have to receive it from without. To walk through this time, as we walk through the Gospel of John, simply saying, Jesus, I want to see more of your glory. I want to see more of who you are in your beauty. I want to enjoy you. That's a great epiphany prayer. You could grab one of the John's Gospels we have on the way out and pray that prayer each day as you read a little bit of John's Gospel. You can come back next week and keep reading John's Gospel with us as we seek to know and enjoy and find our fulfillment in walking in the presence of the joyfully abundant Jesus. Amen.